All right, hack squat. So again, this is another one that's going to look a little bit different depending on what gym you're at. Most hack squats are going to be a similar angle, right? They're usually around that 60-degree angle, but we have seen them all the way up to like 90-degree angle if you're thinking like a Cybex hack squat, right? So we have to be, consistent with the machine as far as the load that we're using, right? So there is that to be considerate of depending on what machine you're going with, especially if you're looking at a new machine that you haven't used yet. You want to make sure that it's at a similar angle before you start loading it up. But from there, the one thing that we'd want to be considerate with a piece like this is we can move the platform up and down. So this is going to allow us to put our ankles at different positions, right? That again, like we were talking about on the leg press, might facilitate a little bit more or less knee flexion and extension. But why don't we hop in here and give them a rep or two. One more rep and pause at the bottom. So feet positioning here is going to be a big one for us. We want to make sure, again, just like we were talking about in the leg press video, that our knees are in a position where they are getting the most flexion that they can get to ultimately generate as much extension as we can get to work that corresponding muscle group as far as the quads are concerned. And the way that we're going to do that is by making sure, again, that our feet are further down the platform. What might be a little bit more difficult here is the fact that we have to work with somebody's individual ankle mobility, right? So if, go ahead, come all the way back up again, pull your feet down to the point where you wouldn't be able to keep your heel on the platform. So for some people, right, they're going to be super mobile, awesome for them. They can move their feet down, and all it's going to do is put them in a position where they can use more and more quads. For the rest of us, go ahead, go down. See how her toes, go ahead, her heels
all the way down,
popping off, yep, are popping off the platform there. We're exceeding her ankle mobility. So go ahead, push back up. We always want to be in a position, come back up a little bit further, put yourself in a better position to where at the bottom of the movement, we can evenly distribute the force between the heel of the foot and the ball of the foot before we press forward. But again, we want that to be in a position where we're still getting the most optimal knee flexion extension possible. So that knee has to travel forward a little bit. So go ahead. This is a big thing that we see a lot where people are stuck in this old school mindset. Can you go back halfway up? Yeah. Boom. Now, if most people would tell you for years and years and years, how long can you hold it? It's shaking already. For years and years and years, if your knees are going above your toes, it's not good for your knees. That's bullshit. We want those knees to go forward just a little bit, but again, no more than our ankle mobility allows us to, and we can recognize that through how the heel is either staying or coming off the platform near the bottom, all right? But other than that, I think this one is covered. This particular piece has a back pad that moves up and down, which again is the advantage of training at Kingdom with us here.
Or iron.
So we can, at the end of the day, this isn't a piece that we're going to see most commonly. So usually you're going to be stuck in that position. If this has a piece for you, then we can manipulate this to be able to set you up with something that may or may not be conducive to hit other areas of the leg, other areas, the glute specifically. But at the end of the day, we're probably focused on just the reality that most hack squats are built like this. Reverse bands. Should we reverse band? Should we not reverse band? That's something you're going to work with as far as your coach is concerned. If you have any questions as far as banding, ask the coach. It'll be based on the individual, right? And whether we need that or not. Most typically, if we're banding, it's because we want to offload at the bottom a little bit to support knee function, or support knee health, I should say, long term. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that we have to be careful with because we also don't want to offload too much at the bottom. We know that lengthened position allows us to grow most efficiently, and if we're pulling off too much of that load at the bottom just for the sake of being able to lift heavier weight, we're probably doing ourselves a disservice long term, right? But again, if it's to protect somebody's long-term ability to train, right, by improving, knee integrity, right, then maybe that band has a little bit of value to it. But again, that's probably something you should work with via your own individual coach.